All right, this episode of A Hero's Journey podcast is brought to you by West Coast Tattoo Parlor. There's two locations here in Las Vegas, Rainbow and down on Las Vegas. I want to thank Valerie and Frankie for jumping on board with me and being supportive of this. So if you find yourself in Las Vegas wanting that quick tattoo or something to remember your trip to Las Vegas, give them a call. You can find them on social media. SMP Inc., let them rebuild your confidence. JPS Computers out of Oregon, and I want to shout out to my buddy. It's True Beauty by Trev. Trevor, dude, you're doing great things. My name is Bryan Hopkins. This is a Hero's Journey podcast, and I never know who I'm going to get guest-wise. Like my last guest, I was driving in, and I last minute, is one of my best friends, and he was going through something, and I just said, hey, will you jump on and do this with me? And this one is special. Like, this one is somebody who's never sat down. This is a first. Never sat down and talked about just clearing the air, like talking about her journey so far, where she's going to go, but kind of the stuff that if you were to Google her name, I can't even say that, Google her name, you would find great stuff, and you would find crazy stuff that we're going to clear the air today. And I want to thank her right now, Miss Heather King from the show Tanked. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is a first. Like on my little podcast, Hero's Journey podcast. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
This is so cool. And here's the thing, Rock Rage Radio listeners out there, there's like 20 million listeners a month on this. So as they say, we are everywhere. They're listening as well, so thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah. That's so cool. So where are you from? Because here's the thing. Valerie from West Coast Tattoo Parlor is like one of your best friends.
She is.
And as she would say, she's crazy, but in a good way.
Everything's in a good way with Valerie.
It's always in a good way.
Or in a nice way.
You're an ass. You're an asshole, but in a good way. You know, like
that is so true.
Love her. But she said you got to have her on, and I'm like, yes, please, let's do this.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So, where you from?
Originally,
yeah,
I grew up in Brooklyn.
I heard that you were talking to Uncle Marvin out the door there.
Absolutely.
So,
I lived in Brooklyn till I was 19, and then I moved to Vegas with my family, and I've been here since 94.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, actually, these days I live in Vegas longer than I even lived in New York.
Anywhere in the world. Right. So, did you ever have an accent? The New York accent? Like
me?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No?
You know, it's not too strong. I've been here.
Yeah, long enough for it to slide if you had it?
Oh, no, it's there.
Oh.
I'm just messing with you. As soon as I open my mouth, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I'm not from Vegas.
No,
least.
not from Vegas. But
although
still.
Once someone asked me, shockingly enough, if I was from Texas. That's, I mean.
Yeah, of course.
A little weird, but to each his own.
All right, that's wishful thinking. So you find yourself, you went to high school here, all that stuff? Or no,
I graduated high school in Brooklyn. I came out here. I was in my second year of college, and I was going to UNLV for a little while, but school was definitely not my forte. I went to college more to have friends and party and hang out as opposed to go in a class. And my dad had owned a business, and by my sophomore year, he was kind of like, okay, you're either going to go to school and get a degree, or you're going to come and work.
Okay.
So I decided I went to work, and I took over his business. He had sold machinery and equipment and woodworking and metalworking equipment to government agencies, city, state, and government agencies.
Oh, wow.
As well as hospital and school furniture, office furniture.
Okay.
So I took over that business for quite a while.
Yeah. How was that?
I hated it.
Yeah.
We worked out of the house, so it was all dealing with people on the phone, and the computer started later on. But I don't know the first thing about metalworking equipment and woodwork, so I hated it. And then while I was doing that, I actually met Wade, and we opened ATM within that time frame as well.
An ATM, what that was?
That is the fish tank business.
Okay. Yep.
So the whole fish tank thing, I was running my dad's business, and when we moved out here, my dad and my mom were building their dream house.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted an aquarium. So they were having an aquarium built for them, and Wade was working for an aquarium company at the time, met my parents. He actually saw a picture of me and was asking my parents about me, but I moved to Vegas with my boyfriend. So
okay.
My parents tried to hook him up with my older sister for a little bit. That didn't work. And he actually had come over. He would like find reasons to come to my house. I'm a big Disney nut.
Right.
And he knew that. So he would like come over with Disney sweatshirts and all kinds of things. And he once told me that he was going to take me away and marry me.
Oh, wow. It's very New York, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, the sad thing is it's the only promise he ever actually kept. But
Oh, the dirt is coming. Yes. Okay. You know.
But yeah, so he did, and his company was going under. And so at the time, he came to my dad. We were already engaged.
Okay.
And he came to my dad, and my dad had the finances to get everything from the other company. And that's how we wound up opening
Oh, wow.
the aquarium. And Brett kind of got thrown in to the mix of that because he was living in New York, and he needed to not be living in New York.
Okay. And Brett is, to the listeners out there?
Brett is my brother. He was
on the show.
Co-owner.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Wow. Okay. So, well, here's the thing. Val is, so you have this company, because I want to go down this journey with you. I want to go down with you, and I want you to be able to say what you want to say. And if there's something you don't want on here, tell me. We'll cut it out. No big deal. But at the end of the day, you have this company. It's growing. How'd you get a TV show? Which is, by the way, Val's like dream. She wants her own TV show for the tattoo parlors.
So it's so crazy. So realistic. So my brother moved to Vegas. Do I want to share why?
It's up to you.
So my brother was a drug dealer in New York.
Oh, wow.
And got held up. And my father got scared and said, I want you out of New York. You need to come to Vegas. We started to he came out here. He didn't know anything about the aquarium business, but my father wanted him to have a legit job.
Right.
So we opened the aquarium business, and we're all a bunch of New Yorkers, running this business, and we would argue and bicker, and people would come in and say that we should have our own TV show.
Right. You're not having to create the drama. It's happening.
Yes, 100%. It was always there. Wade was always the workaholic. Brett was not the workaholic. Okay. Brett did nothing. And then Brett created chaos in our lives from the beginning. Brett actually came out here, and instead of putting his heart and soul into a business that was dropped in his lap, he decided he was going to sell more drugs in Vegas, and they wound up raiding our shop, and he wound up going to jail.
Oh, my gosh.
When he came out of jail, I told Wade I really didn't want Brett back in the business for countless reasons. But he wound up coming back, and Brett, his dream. So when we were younger, my family actually was on Family Feud.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
did the host go around and kiss everybody?
Yes,
I'm just curious.
We had Ray Combs.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry. That's the first thing that popped in my head.
They totally did.
Yeah.
And Brett got his first real taste of what it would be like. And he really wanted to be a celebrity.
Right.
So he would talk about it all the time. So Wade finally was like, you don't work anyway. Put your energy to something. So we started to film and like do a sizzle reel. And it took countless time. I mean, Brett had pushed it, and that is because he wanted it is really the reason that the show had,
Okay.
we wound up getting to a production company, and Animal Planet wound up picking us up. And the show actually got it really got picked up because of me, because not to toot my own
No,
horn,
please
but
go. Toot. Yeah. Fire away.
Because the reality is, one of the first episodes that we ever shot was an aquarium that I was supposed to go into to put these inserts in, because I was the only one small enough to fit. But the aquarium was supposed to be empty. And when I got there, the aquarium not only was full, it had sharks in it.
No.
So, yeah, no, for real, like 10 sharks. And I was in my bikini. So, I mean,
Okay.
Now, mind you, when we started this, I'm not an actor.
Right.
This
Right.
is not, so I was literally, and my poor daughters were actually with us while we were shooting this. And I went in, and this was the realest footage that they got ever, because there was no, oh, we missed that.
Yeah, we got to do it again.
No,
Yeah.
get what you fucking get and get me the hell out of here. 'Cause
Right.
I was like this, literally, like you
Right.
could see me shaking.
I want to
And,
go find that. Can you see that episode?
Absolutely.
Is it the first one? Is it the pilot? Or?
I think so.
Wow.
It's Heather Swims with Sharks. If you look it up,
Okay.
yeah, you could.
There you go.
And the president, not of Animal Planet, but the president of Discovery, thought that was the greatest thing he had ever seen. And then we wound up getting picked up.
Wow, it's like the Fonz jumping the shark, but on Happy Days. But
It
but
was,
for real.
For real. It was.
Wow. And you got it done. You actually.
I did.
Wow.
I did. The things I did for them, yeah.
Okay, so the show gets picked up. Now, how many seasons did you get?
Well, it goes season
No, I mean, how many seasons
total.
Did you guys
We
end up
did
shooting?
8.
8 seasons.
8 or 9. And if they seem to do it like half seasons.
Right.
So it was like 16 seasons, I think.
Okay.
we
Oh,
did.
wow. Okay, so 8 or 9 years, but 16 seasons.
Yes.
Wow.
We went from filming the first season, I think we filmed like 6 episodes. And then the second, I think maybe like 10. And then after that, we were filming 20 episodes a year.
Wow. Okay.
We had 1 week off the whole year, like where we weren't filming.
Oh my gosh. So I think I met your brother.
Sorry.
Nah. I was approached at one of my shows. I was doing a show. I'm the lead singer of the band Elvis Monroe. And I was doing a show, and he walked up to me and he said, "Hey, we should build a tank for you, on one of the episodes for a show." And I went, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I didn't know the show. I just didn't follow the show itself. But then all of a sudden it made me like go down the line, but it didn't matter, because I looked at him and said, at the time, I don't own a house. I have an apartment, and I can go buy a fish tank, but I don't need, my own thing or whatever. So that was my introduction. And then I started paying attention to some of the Vegas celebrities, that have shows here and stuff, that have had tanks built and things like that on the show. So, and I've never needed the cough button. There it works. Okay.
Am I making you nervous?
No, you're not making me nervous. Here's the thing. To be honest with you, what was great was in the next room, we were talking about it, because this came to mind. In the next room, we were talking about how you just love the Housewives shows, So, but the backside of how a reality show is made most of the time. Like, yeah, there was extra tension. You're talking about there's tension that already happened. You said you got New Yorkers, sibling, all these things going on in your world then you put cameras to it, and then they're like making you, we didn't get that, do that again. And you have to argue again. You have to do this kind of stuff, but you're still a fan of reality TV on the other side, knowing that some of these, not some, like we're going to shoot this and we're going to not tell Valerie that she's going to show up and walk in on you. You know, she may or may not know, and there's extra drama and all these things because we need to create it. We don't have the time to hang out with you all day long.
Right.
You know, we're going to pretend like this tank isn't working. But that's why you said in the beginning of this, the realest thing is you're jumping in with sharks that are not actors. You're jumping, it's not supposed to be full, you know, and you're jumping in a bikini, you know.
I could at least say with our show, as far as, yes, you definitely miss angles, but our show was not scripted.
Good.
It was not, you know, really what you saw was what you get with meeting us and all of, they have points.
Okay.
You know, that you want to hit, but that's one thing, at least with ours. But yes, watching reality, some of it, it's funny to watch knowing. It's like, oh, yeah, because, you know, the cameras are just there all night. They wake up and get you coming out of bed.
Right.
You know?
Right. No, it's not happening. You know, they're getting you coming out of bed at noon.
Yeah.
You know?
And in full hair and makeup.
Exactly.
And our show, we didn't get that. We
Really?
We did not get perks.
Right.
That we should have. I had a horrible manager that didn't do right by us. Yeah, unfortunately, I got the short end of the stick in every way.
At the end of the day, it seems like you're, because it's funny. I'm trying to be delicate here because this is Hero's Journey podcast. We're all the hero of our own story. It's what we're going to do. We get one go with this. What are we going to do when we wake up today? You make mistakes. Those are learning things that we go through, right? And what are we going to do today to better today and look towards tomorrow kind of thing, because the past is the past. But I'm giving you a chance, and I want to be delicate to air what you want to air and speak your piece kind of thing. And I'm trying to be delicate with that because
and you can ask me it outright.
But that's the thing. Like you sound upset, you know, about you're not married anymore, obviously.
Well, no, technically I'm actually still married. My divorce has not been finalized.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I'm working on that because
Okay.
I need to be divorced ASAP because this man is a nightmare.
Wow.
I've been separated from him. It'll be 4 years next month.
Okay.
Or March.
Okay.
He has not seen either one of my daughters. He has not given a single dime to either one of my kids. So he has been a nightmare. But I've been living this nightmare for a long time. I mean, back in 2019, the show, or in 2018, the show got canceled. The public didn't know that.
Okay.
Like in December of 2018, we went and we filmed with Tracy Morgan, and we filmed that was our last episode we ever shot.
Okay.
And that was another one my brother didn't want me to go to, but Tracy Morgan actually requested me to be there for the whole thing. So
perfect.
I got to go for that. But that was the last show that we taped, and we knew at that point that the show was canceled. 2019 rolled around, and that was probably the worst year of my life.
What happened?
Well, before I get there,
please.
You said about, you know, being on TV, being on reality TV and working with everyone that I had to work with, it didn't make me realize I'm a pretty damn good actress. Just saying, because I had to film things with, whether it be Brett or even Wade. I mean, I redid my marriage vows.
Yeah.
Renewed my vows on the show.
Yeah.
And I was crying, but those were not tears of joy. You didn't know that, but
right.
I did not want to be there.
So this was for TV. You did this for TV, for ratings, for...
I did. This was my job.
Right.
That, you know, that was my job. But yeah, in 2019, the show had ended. Things were just not good all the way around. My brother actually tried to have me arrested the first week of March because his son called my daughters crying. He was scared of his father. And so I went and I picked my nephew up. He got in my car. I asked him, does your dad know you left the house? He said no. Well,
How old was he?
he's what, 16 now?
So he was young.
He was probably 11.
Yeah, he was young.
11 or 12, I think. And he left, young.
Yeah.
But he walked out of his house. Now, the one thing I pride myself in is being a good parent.
Yeah, and a good aunt.
And
Go
a
ahead.
good aunt.
Yeah.
So I said to him, you have to call your dad. You can't, He's like, can you call him? Like, I will, but he's going to be mad that I'm calling because we were not speaking, Brett and I. And he tried to call. He didn't answer. As I was pulling into my house, I was going to have my nephew text him. He called back. I answered the phone. I said, I have your son. He's like, what do you mean? I said, very clearly, and he's in one of his tirades, yelling, you bring my son home. Blah, blah, blah. I don't.
Right.
I'm going to call the police. I said, Brett, you do what you got to do. I'm not bringing him back to you, especially behaving like this. He actually called the police.
Oh, wow.
And told the police that I kidnapped his son.
Wow.
And had the police come to my house. Granted, the police came in my house. What was he doing? He was sitting on the couch eating ice cream, watching TV with his cousins. And my brother is such a piece of garbage, he forced him to go home. Rather than letting him either stay with me or even go to his grandfather's house.
Right.
He actually made him go home.
Oh, wow.
And then the following week, things with Wade and I were very aggressive. He made life a living hell for me in every way.
Okay.
And I was trying to leave. At this point, he was a drug addict. Going through withdrawals, like craziness. And I was the one, I have two daughters. No matter what's going on in my life, they're always first. And one morning I had left the house because he was sleeping and I was on the phone. And he came out and I was on the phone with my father in the car and he started to freak out, rip my radar detector out of my car, like was trying to not let me leave. I had left for a minute and then I'd come back to try and get clothes and I was going to leave the house. He wouldn't let me leave.
Oh, wow.
So at one point I smacked him and he called the police.
Oh, wow.
And someone like me doesn't go to jail. Like if you ever, anyone that knows me is like, it's just not possible,
Okay.
So the police came and my younger brother had been there.
Okay.
And the police came. So I told them that, yes, I had smacked him because he wouldn't I was trying to get out of the house. And he called the police. He had me arrested. I wound up going to jail.
Is that the mugshot? Because that's the thing. When I Googled your name,
First thing that comes up.
but I didn't go down the rabbit hole. I didn't want to know what it was. I wanted to ask you because it's the first thing that comes up out of all the,
Yes.
20 episodes a year. That's the first thing that comes up. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he called and like he was mentally and verbally abusive to me for years.
Where is he now?
I don't know. He's here somewhere.
Okay. Well, this is a small town.
He moved, as far as I know, he's a drug addict. He moved some woman from New York down. So he's got, the funny thing is people also like to say, I'm a gold digger. Okay. I came with the money.
Right.
Okay. And he left me with literally zero. When I met Wade, he's 9 years older than me. When I met Wade, I was 20 years old. I was on my third brand new car. I was driving a 95 Mustang GT convertible.
Wow.
I married him. I traded it in for a used fucking Kia with roll-up windows.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So a gold digger,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay.
But I went to jail. I actually first of all, I was mortified. I got asked for my autograph in jail.
Is that where you met Valerie? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, really, to boot, I got asked for
Wow.
my, and I mean, I told the police
It's
the
got to feel
truth.
surreal. Like it's got to be like this is a dream. You know?
The worst part, you have to understand, especially me and everyone else that was on the show. To me, I could give two shits about being on the show. Like, I don't mean it like that.
Yeah, I
it
get
was,
you.
I'm very humbled by the whole experience.
Right.
But I don't think who I am. I don't expect every person I meet to have seen this show. I just don't. Like, for me, my daughters were competitive gymnasts.
Oh, that's great.
Even when I filmed, I never missed a thing for those
That's
kids.
amazing. Well, we're sitting here, and you said right at the beginning of the show, and we're talking to Heather King from the TV show Tanked. Right when you sat down, you said, the only way I will answer my phone is if it's one of my kids. And that's amazing. That's great. And that's a great trait to have. It really is.
Thank you.
You know, and I saw it out here. You know, when I introduced you to people, they all had a story. You know, Austin from Bizarre Junkies talked about being on the show at some point, ROTC, you know, in high school. You in there was BJ Baldwin was sitting there, and the young lady who was just on John's show, you know, they knew who you were. You guys were taking pictures together.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And so you've done something. You're leaving your mark, and that's what this is about. But it sounds like you're still like it's like a bittersweet kind of thing, because when it's brought up, there are things where, like I said, people are like, they either got great things to say because they're super fans, because you still have fan pages, you have people that follow you, you guys, your show still runs on reruns and stuff
every day.
They're not aware around the world that you're either not making episodes, this is not going on, that this is the world that you're in, where you're not talking to your husband, you're not talking to your brother, you don't know who he is. You know, all these things have changed for you.
Yeah, and one of the saddest things that we just kind of came to realization about is because my older daughter, you know, recently moved to Tennessee, which anyone that my daughters are my world, which means wherever the two of them are is where I'm going to be.
So you're moving, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. At some point, I am going to Tennessee.
All right, great place though.
But my father had actually asked, well, what do you think, you know, if I was still with Wade, which would have been a nightmare, but if I was still with Wade, you know, would I still be moving to Tennessee? I'm like, well, realistically, if that was the case, she wouldn't have gone to Tennessee. I mean, my daughters, realistically, from my point of view, I wanted them to have our business as a legacy. They grew up watching what we did. They were on the show. My younger one's going to be a vet, so she was always into animals, you know. So that, for me, is kind of bittersweet for them, because I wanted this to be a legacy for them. But they're going to create their own legacies, because this show is not coming back.
Exactly. Well, and that's what we're supposed to do anyway. And it's a hard thing to do, to let go and know that you create your own circle. You are creating your own family. It's your family. You're just extending it.
Right.
That's when you're standing up there telling somebody, you know, I'm sharing my life with you, kind of thing. And this is what I'm going to do. And it doesn't have to be where my parents are. I'm going to go over here and start my own world.
Yes.
And that's how it expands. And that's how we're supposed to move on. I'm Native American Indian. If my family would have stayed where they were, you know, it would have been really bad. Right. It would have been, you know, just on the reservation and just barely getting by. That's, you know, I applaud my friends who get out of there and create their own worlds. And not that there's anything bad about it, but if you go back, it's not the best place to live. You know, I know that my entire family, both sides, have alcoholism runs really deep in it, and it's something we have to overcome.
Right.
And so I've never drank or done drugs my entire life. I don't know what alcohol tastes like. It's just one of those things. So we have to create our own world.
Absolutely.
And be on our own journey kind of thing. So with that, like, there's a negativity thrown at the show, meaning the backside of things. What's the, because you don't want this to come back on your kids.
Right.
You don't want them to take any brunt that your husband, your brother, anything that has gone on with the show to backlash on them. So there's with good, there's bad.
Absolutely.
You know, with all the positive feedback that social media gives you, it almost feels like there's a highlight when somebody's got the
someone
negative
told
stuff.
me I should die.
Yeah.
You know, it's my fault that the show was canceled. It's my fault. Everything was my fault. I mean, the show got canceled for several reasons. The ratings were not what they wanted. Everyone on the show thought who they were, really and truly. I mean, Brett, Wade, they would actually, I would be mortified. I mean, they would actually say, do you know who I am? The fuck do you think you are? You're not Brad Pitt.
Right.
I mean, they really, so Brett left a very bad taste in everybody's mouth. So he was part of the reason. I mean, they closed production down one day because he went on a tirade and was yelling at everyone and screaming and threatened to kill all of production with an AK-47 or
Wow.
something. So listen, did he mean it? No, of course not.
No, but he's upset, and he said it out loud. And
during when all of the shoot, this was, yes. So they shut, he was very arrogant. Getting Brett and Wade to do what they were supposed to do was not the easiest of tasks. I was the easiest one to deal with, because the only thing that made a difference was my kid's schedule. When they were competing, that was it. But I was there when you needed me. And I did what was in everyone's best interest except my own.
Wow.
So, and unfortunately, Brett and Wade, who hated each other. I mean, they never liked each other. When I got engaged to Wade, Brett was mad. He was mad that Wade didn't ask his permission. He was mad.
He's not your dad?
Right. Brett thought he was my dad. But
right.
Brett and I, growing up, were very close.
Okay.
Brett was my first word.
Wow.
So Brett didn't really even like Wade, And it's funny, I read, we did a book. And
what's this book called, by the way?
It's called Tanked.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'd never read it. And I read it during COVID. And it was so funny because Brett's part of the book, it was general, and then each one of us had our own section. Mm-hmm. And Brett's thing went before mine. And everything that Brett wrote in his thing was a lie. Why he came out to Vegas was a lie. You came out because you were a drug dealer. He said he worked in bar, never worked a day in his life. Okay? So, and then how he met Wade. Brett and Wade were not friends.
Wow.
Brett and Wade met because of me, because I was dating Wade.
Right.
You got thrown in because of me and because of our father, not because of,
right.
anything. So even that, how do you just lie about everything? And Brett and Wade make they were best friends. They hated each other. They had a very warped relationship.
Oh, wow.
I mean, even
and
now.
And here you are, you're on a TV show together. Mm-hmm.
But Wade did all the work. Brett thought he ran everything. And it's sad because when the show first started, one of the things that I loved about Wade was how meticulous he was and that he wanted to do a great product,
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, just busy and everything else, a lot of that kind of just...
It dwindled?
Yeah, and then just Brett and Wade were shady guys that just really not good people in the long and short of it.
That's the part that when you bring it up, that's the part that stands out. It's the shoddy work, the having to get money back. It's those kinds of things in the circle of the celebrity friends that I know.
Yeah.
You know, like half of them are like, oh, it was great. You know, I did it and blah, 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 blah. And then because I told you I got approached, you know, but I'm like, what would I don't need a tank. Yeah. But it was one of those things that I did a little, you know, research in, and then was like, nah. I was on a different show, Welder Up, Vegas Rat Rods. I wrote the song for that show, and with Steve Darnell's a great friend now, and you know, and that was a good time. You know, I had a good time doing that. But it was, you know, it was all set up. All these little things that we did were set up, but it was a great show. I had a question, and I was so like listening. So I want to give you a chance to air this stuff, but I also want to know, where are you now? Like, what is it that you...
So right now, honestly, the last 4 years have been crazy, or 5 years have been crazy, because first, you know, I went to jail. And
how long was that?
How long was I in jail?
Yeah.
24 hours.
Okay. That's, yeah.
And it was so crazy because, like I said, I don't think who I am.
Right.
And when I got out, someone told me that I was all over the internet, and I didn't believe that.
Yeah, saw it.
I called my friend, and I'm like, please tell me. I was literally sitting on the corner in the hood somewhere, just crying my eyes out, waiting to be picked up.
Wow.
And then Wade had filed, are you ready for this? Filed a restraining order against me that I couldn't go to my house, I couldn't see my dogs, and I couldn't see my daughters.
Ooh.
Do you know that I was out of my house for a couple of months? He didn't see my daughters. My daughters did not stay with him the whole time. They stayed at their boyfriends' houses.
Okay.
And then, stupidly, I got back together with him, and it was not good. He wound up on several occasions physically assaulting me. He strangled me twice. I thought once he was going to kill me. And then came March 2020. I kicked him out. It was the last straw. My mother...
That's COVID time, right?
Right before COVID,
okay.
a week.
That's
literally, a
lucky.
week before COVID.
Okay.
I kicked him out. He stole... My mother has been dead over 20 years.
Sorry.
He stole all of my jewelry. He stole all of my mother's jewelry. He stole my daughter's jewelry. He left me with zero. I had 2 kids. One was in private school for high school, and one was in college. He left me with nothing but debt. They repossessed everything that I have, except he's still driving around in a truck that technically I own half of, and he stole a car from my house. They kicked me out of my house. It got foreclosed. So now I had a job. I was working as a controller for a company, but they let me go because they had a girl, whatever.
Right.
So right now I'm just I put my kid through college all on my own, and I have another one in college. My dad helps me.
Okay.
But I think now this is the year I'm ready to focus on getting back out there and figuring out
a new
where
journey,
I want to be.
new space, a new place for you. Okay.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like that new place could be Tennessee.
Could be, but
could be.
We'll see. I'd love to do some sort of like documentary, just because the reality is there's a lot more I have to say. I'm not gonna.
You don't
put
have
it
to share
all
it today.
out,
No.
you know.
And I appreciate you like talking to me about this, you know, and sitting down with my little show, but it makes me feel special, and I get to sit across from you and ask you these questions, and you've been so open and honest with me and vulnerable. And I've not tried to hit you with any hard questions, not at all. And I just, like I said, I'm not like this investigative journalist or anything silly like that. This is just my little show. I want to talk about people's journeys. And the thing is, you have fans, you have people out there that follow you.
Yes.
And they want to know, you know, why are you, when we pull this up, why is there a mugshot of you? Why are you not talking to your husband, you know, ex-husband, your brother.
And I think they were in cahoots to get me arrested.
Really?
Because not only did he try, Brett, the week before to have me arrested, the day that Wade had me arrested, the first phone call Wade made after that was to Brett.
Oh, wow. So is it, and your first call was to Val? Is that what Val was? I'm kidding.
No, she said that my brother had called her to tell him that, because Brett goes around telling people I'm a drug addict. And I mean, he called my father. He's like, 2 drug addicts. I'd be embarrassed. I know I am. Dude, you haven't even seen me. What the hell do you know about my life or anything else? But yet, even oh my God, even with the show, he had his girlfriend, and they got engaged, on the show.
Okay.
She was a hooker, first of all.
Really?
Yeah, she was an escort. Listen, my brother likes escorts and strippers.
Wow.
That's his, go-to. And even that, he tried. They were so shady. She was doing tours, pocketing money. I mean, and Brett and Wade, I don't know if they were best friends or enemies. They were in cahoots. The things they would allow to be done was crazy. And then me, I'm an honest person. I like to do things.
Okay.
So if I would point things out, they would cut me off.
Oh, wow.
With the business. They were terrible businessmen.
Okay. So that makes sense in some, like, the people out there who, might be pointing fingers at you.
Yeah. And me, I had nothing to do with any of it.
Okay. That's crazy. Okay.
They
Well,
would let
I
me.
just stole Val's word. That's crazy. But in a good way, as she would say.
Absolutely.
No. And Val's sitting off camera. I keep looking this direction, but she's the reason why you're sitting down and sharing this with me, which is amazing. So it's just, I remember my question now, and that is, it's the hardest thing. And I go back to, we get one go around, right? And you just sat there and said, my brother, my first word was, Brett, this has to be hard on you to know that that's your brother, the person you ran around, played with, grew up with, your innocence, the understanding that as you became adults, that's when your whole world changed.
Absolutely.
And that's got to be hard. That's got to be hard to know. You can look at photos of you and your brother and know that this is when you loved each other and you would do anything for each other. And that's your family, like the way you are with your daughters.
Absolutely.
And so
it's so hard, and it's so sad. I mean, it's certainly not what I expected. And when I talk to people, the saddest thing is every man in my life that I had on this super high pedestal, unfortunately, I saw them all come crashing down.
that doesn't include your father.
No, it does.
It does.
It does.
I'm sorry.
In a lot of ways, it does. He's got his good points,
Okay.
for sure, but he's got his faults also.
Right.
So for me, yeah,
I think we all do. We all do.
Absolutely.
We all do. And it's trying to be better.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, all the men in my life, they are very much narcissists.
Wow.
So
I'm sorry.
uh,
But that was, and I don't know that was more a question as a more of a statement kind of thing for me, because it just made me think of that. Like the one pride that I have is that my family's so tight, and even through good, bad, my brother being sick right now, all this stuff, we come together. But I've watched, not to air my parents' laundry, but I watched them have falling outs with their siblings, and me trying to patch this up, being the oldest son, going, there's a day that we're going to get a phone call and they're not going to be there,
Right.
or you may not be there. And there are certain things that need to be cleared up at some point. And I hope that maybe one day you get the chance to do that. And I don't think that may not be your
Right.
goal. But what I'm saying is just you can hang on to those moments where you did have love for these, for them. And before we go, because we're at that time, I want to say thank you.
Oh.
Thank you for doing this. And I hope I could tell you were a little nervous in the beginning, and you're on camera all the time, but this was like you're being vulnerable with me, and you were and sharing. And I wanted you to be able to air out anything you wanted to talk about that answers those questions, because people can follow you on the internet. They can follow you, watch your show, and they have questions.
Right.
They want to know why this, why that, why is the show gone? Why are you not talking? Why do we see this on TMZ? Why do we see, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely.
And so this gives a little bit of clarity until you put out the documentary, until you write your own book on those kinds of things. You have that. You could do that. You can air out your laundry. You can do this your way and actually benefit. And it sounds like you need your own new path. So this is a step. In
Absolutely.
2024, this is a step for you to do that. And you can go after what you want. And I say this, I just told my buddy on the phone, I'm like, look, we're so close to finishing this project. I'm going to stay on you every day until you finish it, because that's what we need to do this year. In 2024, that needs to be accomplished. So where is it in your head? You don't have to say it out loud.
Right.
But what is it that I want to accomplish, that I want to do? And air this out, let it go, move forward.
Yes.
Focus on your daughters, focus on you. And I hope 2024 brings you nothing but health and prosperity and all the goodness, because, you need it. We all need it. Okay.
I do. I need a break.
Yeah. Is there any one last thing that you would like to say to your fans out there? You can talk to that camera right there, because these are your fans. These are the people that have been following you for a really long time. We're talking to Heather King from Tanked, and that's how you know her, the little New Yorker, who lives here in Las Vegas.
I love everyone. Thank you. And I am on Instagram, HeatherKing_Tanked. I try and, respond to anyone. So if anyone has any questions or wants to say hi, please feel free to do so.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Did you have fun?
I did.
Okay. Did it feel good to say what you want to say?
It did.
I could tell you were apprehensive at times and what am I going to say?
Yeah, a little bit.
But that's okay. And I love it. And if after this, let's say there's all kinds of positive, but there's some backlash of any kind, and you want to come back and clear the air with me, we'll do that, and we'll have Val sit down with us next time, and try not, we'll have.
I don't trust her to sit down with me.
That's a good move. That's a good move.
I told her.
Yeah, you are awesome. She'll throw out stuff that we don't want to talk about right now. I gotcha. But what I'm saying is, it gives you a chance if there's any backlash of any kind. You know what I'm saying? I'm that I can be the place for you to put this at. Exactly. Perfect.
Love it.
Perfect. So I want to shout out to our sponsors. Thank you again, Heather. I appreciate
My pleasure.
it. Heather King from Tanked. My name is Bryan Hopkins. I want to shout out to our sponsors, SMP Inc. Thank you so much. JPS Computers, True Beauty by Trevor, and a special thank you to West Coast Tattoo Parlor. Valerie, who's over here dancing, thank you. Valerie DiMaggio, Frankie DiMaggio over at West Coast Tattoo Parlor. My arm, I'm getting it all tatted up from inside and out right now because of them. And it's an amazing, hang. And if anybody's out there, she needs a TV show. She's crazy.
I'll go back on TV too. Everybody wants me. I'm ready.
Let's go.
Show me the money.
Let's go. I love it. To the Rock Rage Radio listeners out there, as I say, we are everywhere. Thank you so much. My name's Bryan Hopkins. This is a Hero's Journey podcast. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks for keeping those numbers going, and I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day. Be safe.
Dream, and I believe it's coming around to me.